There's always this problem of water, it seems like almost anywhere you go. You were not drinking their water right out of the faucet.
No, we weren't. Because it has stuff in it that can make us sick that the natives there are used to. Their bodies can handle it. But because our water is treated a certain way or something, we don't have that.
Did Stephanie ever get sick from the water?
Nope, neither of us did.
What did you do to keep from getting sick?
Um,
Because they're going to want to know, because they're going down there or somewhere.
well, you want to make sure you either boil your water before you use it for cooking or eating or drinking.
What if I don't want to take time? I don't want to boil my water. I don't think it's going to bother me.
Well, you might get really, really sick,
Like what?
like throwing up and diarrhea.
Didn't Tim drink their water?
Our neighbor,
Tim was down there. I don't know much about exactly what happened, but I know he was down there while we were down there, and he came back and was sick for a few weeks.
well, what Luke and Steph didn't see was that after Tim came back, he was sick for months, like 5 months at least. And so something serious happened, because I think a lot of it was because he drank the water.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead, the water.
Oh, yeah, so we, a lot of times, so that we didn't have to boil a bunch of water, we bought big, like 5-gallon, 7-gallon jugs of water from the grocery store. And we'd use all our drinking water out of that. We'd have water bottles to wet our toothbrushes with.
Yeah.
And when I washed the dishes, I always made sure the dishes were completely dry before we used them. Because if it's dry, then there's nothing to make you sick. Whatever is in the water to make you sick has to be wet.
So, I mean, brushing your teeth. I mean, I know from experience and from watching other people that I've traveled with, they don't want to do that. They don't want to boil the water. They don't want to worry about their toothbrush. They don't mind sticking it under the water. It's not going to bother them, and even if it does, that's maybe possibly perhaps better than fussing with worrying about all the clean water. Don't tell me I'm going to get sick.
Well, I don't like getting sick, so I had a very low tolerance for that. So I went out of my way. I mean, when I showered, I wouldn't talk to Steph if I was showering. She'd yell in a question. I'd be like, I mean, because so I don't know how much water it takes to get sick, but I never found out because, I mean, when I showered, my lips would be sealed, and I'd get out and I'd dry off my lips, and then I'd talk. And so, for me, it was a minor convenience to make sure I didn't have any problems.
So he didn't get sick. I mean, this is a new one,
Not from the water.
Yeah, not from... Well, what did he get sick from?
Some food at a festival, I guess. We saw it sitting out there. It was like grilling on the grill. It was this big festival.
Chicken.
Yeah, it looked like chicken. And we were like, oh, let's try that. And, well, it didn't turn out well. It wasn't what we thought it was.
But this isn't the kind of thing you'd expect to get sick from. So it was an unknown type of cause, but it was from the food prepared on the street, and maybe you weren't, was it germs or what?
I'm not sure. It was some sort of food poisoning, it seemed like. It was pretty bad. I had to go to the hospital to stop it. Cause yeah, I mean, because I had these, they ended up being beef hearts, which... I don't think I'll ever eat a beef heart again after that.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, it really does get serious. Now, just imagine you're going to be there for a week, and you get sick, and maybe for several days?
Yeah, it took me, so I got sick Saturday, and, I mean, even though, because I went to the hospital, and they put an IV in me for quite a long time.
What?
Well, yeah, they put an IV in me for about an hour just to stabilize me, and then they gave me water to hydrate me for probably 3 hours. I was just getting hydrated from water, and so that was about 3:30 a.m. I left the hospital, and then all day, and that was 3:30 a.m. Sunday. So all day Sunday, I basically just laid in bed because I was just exhausted. And Monday was pretty similar, but I was feeling better, but I mean not like the kind where I was going anywhere. I mean I basically laid in bed, and I think Tuesday I was able to function and do everything, but I still didn't feel great.
Yeah, I remember times, being out of the country, and I'd go across a street and see some food wagon, something that, people, a cart they had out there, and the food looked so great. I thought, man, I have got to have some. Let me just try some of this and this. It's a big risk. Sometimes I wouldn't get sick, and sometimes I did. And if you're just there for a week or two, well, if you time it just right, you get sick after you come home. All right, well, actually, Luke ended up vomiting blood during that episode of getting sick. Let's switch subjects now. Getting around, transportation, whether it's on foot or whatever it is, what was it? What do people need to know?
Watch out. I mean, at least especially in Lima, even when we're on foot, I feel like in America, even though obviously there's a decent amount of pedestrian deaths every year.
Pedestrian deaths?
Deaths. I think there's a lot more respect for pedestrians in the United States, but I felt like in Peru, Lima, well, I don't think I was in any place in Peru where I didn't really feel like there was a lot of respect for me as a pedestrian because I was basically in their way. So I know a decent amount of deaths in Peru, traffic deaths, were involved pedestrians, and the traffic was nuts. So for us, as just walking around, I mean.
You really had to watch for the cars where they were going if you wanted to try to cross the street. You had to make sure. It was always easier when you were going across with a big group of people. And you really had to watch to see if they were looking for you, because they're not looking for pedestrians at all. And a lot of times, most of the time, I think people did not stop at stop signs, or sometimes they would go through red lights. And
they'd honk as they're flying through. That was kind of their way. Since they weren't going to brake, you'd hear a beep beep, and that meant the person basically wasn't going to stop for the stop sign.
There's a lot of beeping, and most of it ended up being taxis. What about taxis? What do people need to know about getting around in taxis?
Well, in Peru, I don't know about other Latin American countries, but I know in Peru, the rate what you'd pay, the taxi fare, you negotiated before you went anywhere. So I'd walk up to a taxi and I'd tell them where I wanted to go, and they'd give me a price. And I kind of needed to know already whether or not that was a good price, because we got ripped off when we were at the airport. And so getting around, they look at me and they'd say, 20 soles, and I'd know sometimes that's okay. That's a good price.
20 soles would be how much, and for how far?
That would be, okay, so that's what, $12? $8, yeah.
About $8?
$8. And that was probably about, well, it would take like about 30 minutes, but you're talking maybe 5 miles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's less than you'd pay in this country.
Yeah.
Some of the kids watching this are going to say, I'll just drive my car.
Oh, that's probably the scariest thing you can do there. With you not knowing how the traffic works there, that seems really dangerous, because they are switching lanes all the time. You'll be driving here, and this person will turn left in front of you.
Is that fun?
It's fun when you're in the bus that's doing that. It's pretty funny when you're watching, you're like, you're in the middle lane, and you're like, aren't we supposed to turn left up there? And the next thing you know, you are turning left. But it's I mean, when we were in vehicles, I never felt unsafe, but watching it looked.
So you never screamed when you were in a cab?
No, I never screamed. This
is their little baby Lily, and it's about time for her to go to bed. So we'll have to end our conversation and pick it up another day. But what were you going to say?
I'm not too scared of driving in general, but I a lot of times wouldn't watch, really. I'd look at something else not outside the car.
You were too scared to watch. She was too scared. We'll talk again, okay?
All right, sounds good.
Sounds good.